I want to make it to the table before 5. It's currently 12. Hopefully we can do that. I'll see you guys there. Well guys, welcome back to the poker vlog, and it's been 1.5 months since I've been back from Florida. Just been spending time with friends, family, and playing a little bit of poker at my local casino where I've made around 5K within this last month. So we're still in that upswing, and it's time to take the bankroll all the way to Detroit, Michigan. I hop in my car and I set the destination to Windsor, Canada, and start making my way over. But first, I had to stop for gas around halfway through, and I check my phone and get a pretty good message. It's time to head back on the road. I put my Airbnb address in my Google Maps, and around 2 hours later, I arrive. I've got some good news and I have some bad news. The good news is that the Airbnb lady finally messaged me back, so I will not be homeless this trip, thankfully. The bad news is that gas is slowly eating away at my bankroll. It is ridiculous, but that's okay. Let's just keep rolling. I got 2 hours of driving left. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'll see you guys at the Airbnb. Okay. Nice, got the towels. This looks super old school. Wow. Oh wow, super old school. This is kind of cool. Dope Airbnb. Okay, I'm all settled into my Airbnb. Now it's time to play some poker. My current USD bankroll is $42,000. After that Florida trip, it definitely helped it out. That's all in cash. We got it ready to go. Wish me luck, and I'll see you guys at the casino. The first game that I get placed at is 1-3 mixed. So they play half no limit hold'em and half PLO. I don't really know how to play PLO too much. My main expertise is hold'em. I've put all the work into hold'em when it comes to studying and getting better at the game over the years. But I ended up winning a pretty big PLO hand to start off the trip, worth $1,200, before I end up getting seated at the 5-10 no limit. Yes, straight to 5-10, not even 2-5 to warm me up. Let's go. Here at MGM Grand Detroit, every dealer change, they do a PLO double board bomb pot. And at the 5-10 no limit, it's a $50 bomb pot. So they can get pretty big sometimes, and they're uncapped. The first one that I play, I actually end up winning it for $2,300 total. So now we're doing pretty good on the day. And the next thing you know, we're back in a bomb pot. But this time, it's a little bit different. I've got Jack, Jack, King 5, and I block the nut flush on both boards. So what did I do? I tried to bluff full pot into a pro, but he ended up calling me with a baby flush on both boards, which I found very surprising. I bet $900 in the river, and he ended up calling me with his weak flush, knowing that I can have much better. I thought it was maybe a good bluff, but you guys might think I'm crazy for bluffing into bomb pots. I do make the occasional bluff sometimes, and I have been profitable in a decent amount of them, but it's probably more worth it to just target worse players in bomb pots and try to make as much as possible. I bought him for $2,000, and my stack is now at around $3,300 when I look down at King Jack offsuit in the big blind. One of the pros here, he opens at $30 from under the gun. Hijack ends up making the call, button calls, and small blind calls as well. I decide if I want to squeeze or not here, but decide that probably not the best play with this sort of hand class. When there's a bunch of callers here, one of them could potentially be trapping, and my hand is pretty strong against a bunch of limp ranges here to just see a flop with and not play a massive pot. If I 3-bet, I'm probably getting called by only better and under pairs, so I don't really want to play that. I make the call. The flop comes out the Queen of Hearts, 6 of Diamonds, 7 of Spades. It checks through, so heading off to the turn pretty quickly here. And it comes out the King of Diamonds, so I hit top pair with a decent kicker. It checks to the button player who bets $50 here, which he bets 50 into a pretty large pot. I think this looks kind of weak. It probably has some King X in his range. He could have some 2 pairs like King 6, King 7 potentially, but I feel like he'd go bigger. Small blind makes the call, so that's also a little bit surprising to me. He could potentially be trapping, but given that this button player bet so small, I would assume he would re-raise here with a hand like 2 pair or better. So when he calls, he's probably got a lot of draws and maybe some worse top pairs or Queen X. So when the action's on me, I debate if I want to call or raise, and I think raise plays a little bit better here because I want to deny some equity from draws, and I also think that a non-believing queen or worse king would for sure call me. So I decide to raise it up to $200. Folds over to the button player, and he ends up making the call. Small blind folds. So now we're heads up, and to range him real quick, I think he's got some worse King X He probably doesn't have any queen X because he'd probably bet the flop with that. Maybe he can have a bunch of draws as well, some ace high flush draws, maybe some random straight draws like Jack 10. 9-10 is double gutter. You get the idea. The river comes to ace of clubs, which is pretty horrible for us because now all of his ace high flush draws get there. So I end up going for a little block bet of $100, hoping to get called by a worse king. And then if he has better, I'm assuming he's probably just going to raise me. Or he might try to bluff me off of the hand. The action's back on him and he's got a decision. Does he want to call $100 or does he want to try to bump it up and steal this pot? Or does he think he has the best hand? He does go for the raise. So I guess he's doing one of those options and he makes it $300. The action's back on me. What do I want to do here? Well, when he raises, he's repping a better hand than mine, but he made it so small. If he had some sort of straight, I would assume he would go much larger here. At least 400 would be my assumption to try to target my sort of holdings here. And this is also somewhat of a thinking player, so I would assume that, yeah, he would go a little bit bigger here with a more nutted hand. So maybe he's got some sort of draw that he's expecting me to just fold my missed draws, or maybe my weak ace X myself if I had some sort of ace high flush draw or a king of some sorts. It seems slightly thin value-y as well. Maybe he's got some sort of random two pair. So when the action's back on me, I think against that range, I want to raise, given that I don't think there's many straights in his range. So I bump it up to $800 just in case. Maybe he's got even like ace 10 here, ace 10 of diamonds, some sort of hand like that. So I make it $800 and then he tanks forever for ending up folding, and he was super torn about the decision. Says that he folded two pair. I flip over my king to kind of show him that I had something, but then I couldn't help myself and I was too proud of myself and I end up flipping over the jack as well. Maybe a little bit of ego involved there, I don't know, but I felt pretty good about that. Maybe I just wanted to show these guys that I'm ready to battle as I was filming the session as well. So we end up getting a pretty hot bluff through here. And guys, I know that was short, but that's going to wrap up day one. I only played a total of 3 hours as this was the day that I drove up and I was a little bit exhausted and it was already pretty late past my bedtime of what I would like to be going to bed at, which is usually around like 12 at midnight. But I ended the session earlier, of course, as I wanted to get back across the border and relax. So I made around $1,200 at the 1-3 mixed and I made $700 at 5-10 no limit. And we didn't have the straddle on for around 80% of the time at the 5-10. So I mostly just played 5-10, which is rare at the 5-10. See you guys on day 2. Day 1 was solid. I definitely ran good for how long I played. I think I played like 3 hours and made like $1,900, so obviously ran hot and I'm exhausted. I'm gonna eat this pasta after it's done being made. There's one hand that I played that I want to go over. It's like the most simple spot ever. I just want to see if pre-flop was supposed to be a call or not. I open with ace-5 suited from under the gun. Guy to my left calls, and then a pro 3-bet me from hijack. And I want to see how often I'm supposed to call in 4-bet here. So I'm gonna check that out and then gonna go to bed after that. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
That was a big blurry. You said things were blurry. Was that just the last 3 possessions, or was that?
Good morning, guys. It's day 2. I made $1,900 yesterday. I took my braids out this morning. I went for a jog, made my lunch, which is easy. I just had to warm up some food, and about to head to the casino. Got to get there in time so I don't get my name taken off the list. Let's go. I'm now on day 2, and I love when my trips start off with a little bit of momentum, which we had from yesterday, day 1. I sit down with $1,500 at the 2-5 no limit here at MGM Grand Detroit because that's the maximum buy-in here. The first hand I look down at is pocket aces under the gun, so I open it up to $15, which is my standard strategy from this spot. Button makes a call, big blind and small blind come along as well. The flop comes out 6 of diamonds, 7 of clubs, 3 of diamonds. It checks to the button player who bets $25. Guys, why did I check here? Well, there's a players in position to me, so I like to check in these spots. Big blind makes a call, so when it's back on me, I'm not going to be calling here. Even though this board smashes their range, for a small bet like $25 and the fact that he could be betting almost any pair here or any bluff, and this other guy can have a bunch of draws and worse hands than mine, I'm gonna raise it up to $105, but when the action's back on them, they both make the fold. But I'm still in good spirits because it's always great to start your session off with a solid win, no matter how big the size of the pot. About 1 hour goes by with no playable hands, but then I witness one of the craziest bomb pots I've ever seen. A 5-way all-in bomb pot on the turn. 5 players all in. I folded the nut straight on one board and would have got quartered. The dealer had to chop the pot 3 ways and 2 players lost it all. One player had the nut flush, one player had the 10 high flush with 6-4 for a straight. One player rivered the 10 high flush. Anyways, it was just a crazy bomb pot hand. I've never seen a 5-way all-in bomb pot on the turn. And shout out to the dealer who was dealing this hand because it was very confusing and he made it look very simple chopping this pot up. So congrats to the dealer staff at MGM Grand Detroit. In this next hand, the hijack player limps for $5, cutoff limps. I'm on the button with ace-jack offsuit and raise it up to $35. The hijack makes the call, so we're just going to be heads up here heading to a flop. It comes out the ace of hearts, the queen of diamonds, and the 10 of hearts. He checks it over to me and I go for a continuation bet of $25. Pretty standard here. He makes the call. The turn comes to 3 of clubs. He checks it over to me again, and this is a spot where against a pro, I would think about checking back here sometimes, even though they would never limp. We wouldn't be in this spot. But this is a recreational, and I'm just trying to get called here by maybe some queen X or some worse ace X is my hopes. I don't think he would call me here with like jack 10 or king 10, hands like that. So I'm just, again, trying to get called by queen X or ace X. So I bet $75 and he ends up making the call. And the river's an interesting one. It's the 3 of spades. So it pairs the board and now we're chopping with any ace out there. So if he's got an ace, we're gonna chop this pot. So when he checks it over to me, I think to myself, can I really get value here from a hand like maybe king queen, queen jack, those sort of hands? Or if he ever did call a hand like king 10 on the turn, would he ever call a river bet? I'm not sure, but I'm gonna bet small here to hopefully get called by those hands. And I bet $50. He ends up making the call and I win after I show my hand. And he's not too happy about it, and I guess he feels a little bit embarrassed, so he shows why he called. And he had king queen offsuit, so sure, makes sense why he put that $50 in. And we're gonna get paid probably the maximum here. Maybe I could have went a bit larger on the turn though, given that he called me with a queen, and he would probably call me with any worse ace X if I sized up. Sometimes it's tough to know how much value you could have made in a pot, but maybe you guys can let me know in the comments how big of a turn sizing this guy would have called if I went larger. It's now around 2 hours into my session and I've lost a couple bomb pots. So I'm only up around $100 at this point, even though we won those 2 hands that we played before. I end up chopping a bomb pot for $600, so I make a little bit back, and now we're up around $400 on the day. And the next playable hand I look down at is ace king offsuit in the cutoff, and I open it up to $30 because there's a straddle. The button player calls, the small blind re-raises, so he 3-bets us to $130. And when the action's back on me, I put in the small 4-bet here to $275. He's got a small stack, so I probably could just jam. I don't know why I choose this sizing here. Maybe I didn't see a stack or something like that. The button ends up folding and the small blind jams, so I make the call. And we go to a run out. It comes out jack 10, 3, 8, jack. Completely missed this board. I don't think it's a guarantee that I've lost this board, but when he flips over pocket queens, we're gonna give him a double up here and move on to the next hand. I'm now in the cutoff and I have 4, 5, ace, jack in the bomb pot. So yes, this bomb pot we're actually gonna go over in a little bit more depth. The flop comes out ace, 8, jack on one board, and then queen, 3, 5 on the other board. So it's a pretty interesting one here. We flop top 2 on one board and we have a little pair, a little bit of equity on the other board. And one guy bets $50 on the flop, super small, given that it's a $25 to play. There's around 200 in the middle, and everyone calls this $50. So now the pot's getting a little larger. And the turn comes out the 4 of diamonds and then the king of clubs. It checks to a pro who's in the cutoff and he ends up betting $250 here. I'm not too happy about this sizing because, again, it's a bomb pot and I could definitely be beat here, but I just have so many outs on the ace-jack board, given that I can hit a lot of different full houses, and I have some equity on the other board still as well with some straight draws, a pair. So I end up making the call. The pot's pretty big. I think I can definitely call here with the price that I'm getting, and the player to his left calls as well. So I gotta be a little bit careful here. The river comes out the 8 of clubs and the deuce of clubs. These are 2 really interesting cards because on the board where we have a bunch of 2 pairs, this actually ends up pairing the board and eliminates the fact that someone can have a hand like Jack 8 or pocket 8's way less likely now. So this is actually a pretty good card for us to bluff someone off of the nut flush on that board, especially if they have something like King X, right? King X of diamonds sort of hands. So it goes to the pro player and he bets $350. This is a small size, so he's basically saying that he has some sort of flush here. He's got the diamonds, he had the nuts on the turn, and he got counterfeit, and he just wants to set his price. I love to turn my hands into semi-bluffs and bomb pots, so when the action's on me here, I actually end up jamming for $1,300 effective. And the other player is out of the way at this point, so now it's just on the pro. He's tanking for around like 3 minutes, I'd say. He usually never tanks, this guy, but then ends up folding, and he said he had the nut flush and 2 pairs. So we get the little bluff through and move on to the next hand. I'd be curious if you guys let me know how you think I played this one. I think I played it pretty well, and I'm very happy it's the one that I had the camera on for, where I actually wrote down what happened on the boards, because it's super tough to write down exactly what happens in each bomb pot. So I was kind of just like picking and choosing like 1 every 8 bomb pots to actually film if I thought that it was going to go through to something. So anyways, happy about this one, and let's move on. I've been running good and playing good to start this trip, and I feel like the momentum is with us at this point. So I'm very excited to keep playing this session, and now I'm up around $1,300 on the day, and then I end up looking down at pocket kings in the big blind. There's 2 players that limp, and then the cutoff with a stack of $1,600 effective goes to $50, which is pretty huge here, given that there was no straddle in this hand. These players limped for $5 and this guy went 50. And this guy had not been raising this large usually, so I'm assuming this is somewhat of a strong hand that he has here, but he's not an absolute wreck. He kind of knows how to play a little bit, so I would assume that he wouldn't just go 50 here with only aces, is the thinking here. So when the action's on me, this is usually a spot where when someone goes really big with an ISO, I usually size down to like 175, just because I'm not going to be able to balance it as well, and I think it performs better. But given that I just have a massive hand here, I think I'm just going to want to go big. So I go to 210, expecting to get called, assuming that he's got a stronger range here, and call he does. So we end up heading to a flop. It comes out the queen of clubs, the 3 of clubs, and the 3 of diamonds. So this is like the absolute dream flop, because maybe he can have a hand like ace queen, and this is someone who likes to call down if he doesn't believe you. This guy also knows I'm a vlogger, and I played with him a little bit before, and he knows I can make some massive bluffs sometimes. So I end up betting $105 here, just sort of doing a little range continuation bet. I think betting small on this board is going to perform pretty well as like a balanced strategy here. When the action's on him, he makes the call. This doesn't tell me too much about his range. He could still have a hand, I think even like ace jack, or like some hands with backdoor equity, given that I bet so small and he's in position. He might float here, given the pot's large and I bet small. The turn comes out and it's a 3 of hearts, so this is the dream flop now, because I just have a full house and it's a super dry board. So I don't think I need to bet too big again. Maybe you can argue for sizing up a little bit more here, but I bet $275. The assumption here is that the pot's already going to be pretty large, so by the time we get to river, I can just jam, and maybe he'll feel like he's priced in. I want to make sure he calls the turn, and call he does. So we're headed off to a river, and it's a 7 of diamonds. Perfect board. Perfect run out. I'm not too scared of pocket 7s. I of course jam, and now it's for 900 effective, and he goes deep into the tank, another tanker, and it's around 2 minutes that go by, maybe longer, could have been like 5, and he ends up folding his hand, unfortunately. And we talk a bit about it after. He's not very happy about it. He knows I can be bluffing here. He says that he had a lower pocket pair, probably a hand like pocket 9s, pocket 10s, and I said to him at one point, did you have a queen? And he said, oh, I would have for sure called a queen. So I'm still happy about how I played this hand, and it's just unfortunate that we couldn't get called here. Guys, it's day 2 and it's been a full day, and now my stack is at $3,500, so we're up pretty big on the day at this point. And there's a straddle in this hand. When I look down at pocket aces, a pro opens to $30 and +1, and I make it $90. If the action's back on him, we have a lot of history. He knows that I get pretty aggressive with my 3 bets, so I expect him to 4-bet me with a pretty good range, meaning that he's probably gonna have, of course, a bunch of value, but I think he's for sure gonna add bluffs into it as well, and I have caught him 4-bet bluffing me in the past, so I know that he gets in there. Maybe there's some metagame going on where it's like, he knows that I know that he 4-bet bluffs, so maybe he's not going to do it against me, and it's a table full of recreationals. Does he really want to get out of line against the other pro at the table. I'm not sure what the dynamics are, but I've got a massive hand, so I'm just happy to make the call. Yes, I'm gonna slow play here. Why would I 5-bet in position? It's like the strongest play. It has like no bluffs ever. And then the flop comes out the 9 of diamonds, 7 of diamonds, 3 of clubs. Again, a pretty solid flop for us considering that we have aces and he 4-bet us. So not even ace 5 or ace 4 suited even connects really with this flop unless he has diamonds. He goes for a continuation bet of $300. So at this point, he's basically saying, I have a pocket pair or I have a bluff. And if he does have a pocket pair, I would assume that it would be at minimum pocket queens. He would never choose jacks with this sizing here, given that I don't really have too many hands that would call. But of course, I have aces, so I make the call. And you can even imagine me sitting there doing a little bit of Hollywooding just to make sure that I look a little bit out of line in any sort of way. Just a little, you know, a little 1-2 movement, you know. The turn comes out the 9 of clubs. Again, a pretty perfect card. Hopefully he doesn't have 9-10 suited, because then I would have zero respect for his game if he does. But anyways, he ends up just jamming his entire stack in here, which kind of makes sense because the pot is now at $1,200 and he's repping a strong hand. Maybe he's just got pocket kings. I make the call and the river comes out the jack of clubs. Oh my days. Please don't have pocket jacks. But he ends up showing us pocket kings. So we're just going to scoop him in this absolute cooler here. I know this might sound kind of greedy, but immediately what goes through my mind is, damn, I wish he had like a $2,500 stack here because I would have made it all for sure. The way that this guy plays and the way that I play, it's a spot where if he was any deeper, like 3K effective, we'd probably still get the money in. But anyways, that's going to wrap up the day. I still have 3 days remaining on this Detroit trip, which will be covered in my next vlog, so stay tuned. But in this session, I played for a total of 7 hours and 20 minutes and made a total of just over $2,500. So just an amazing way to start the trip, and I'm still waiting on this downswing that I know will come eventually. I have a couple of live afterthoughts to share with you guys in a second here, so stay tuned. I'll see you guys there. And guys, a special announcement. I'm going to be playing at the WSOP series in Montreal at Playground. They have a little poker room there. Well, not little, it's actually huge and it's probably one of the coolest poker rooms in the world. But they are having a WSOP series coming up at the end of August. And my boys over at ACR Poker are giving away a $1,000 free entry ticket to the Mystery Bounty. And if you're more interested in that, head over to my Instagram because that's where you can find more details and my promo code and that kind of stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button, the like button, and leave a comment if you got anything that you want to ask me or anything that you want to say. I would appreciate anything. Honestly, I love responding to you guys, especially the positive comments or when you guys have actual serious questions that I would love to get back to. But yeah, I've been recognizing some of like the same people commenting, and it's been cool to chat with you guys a little bit down there. But yeah, again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you do all those things, it definitely helps my channel out a lot. The goal is to grow together, right? You guys get better at poker, my channel gets bigger, we're all happy. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one.